What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Friend of Man. Today I'm in Minecraft just goofing around making some stuff. Someone had mentioned in one of my previous videos that you could use observers to make a faster repeating circuit. Well, I tried that, and I did some interesting stuff. I also found that if you use an observer with a sticky piston, you can complete circuits and open circuits accordingly. Unfortunately, the blinking circuit does not work well with the sticky piston back here. You have to cycle it a few times before it actually starts doing it automatically. Now it's gonna make me a liar. There you go. Just gotta kickstart it. So now you can see the blinking circuit with the observers. I also found out that this is about the only way to make your light rapidly turn on and off, because the refresh rate on your redstone is faster than light. But if you move the redstone to the light, it seems to don't mind. It does seem to be going pretty fast. It just seems to be about as fast as my regular style circuit. Just like I said, unfortunately, the lights don't keep up with it. It seems to be about the same pace. I got about 180 degrees out of sync right here. Turn that off. I also did some other things, so let's go look at this. Never mind my various obstructions and contraptions. I'm working on a lot of different brainchild ideas. Made a do-nothing machine. You plug the block in here, signal pushes the piston forward and carries on. Next. Time it. Yeah, right. Well, let's try that again. Said if you time it just right, you can drop another block and two go at the same time. Right. Next, I was looking at issues we were having with taking a signal upwards. And you can use observers to do this. You can go straight up with them. The problem is they're momentary. They only light up for a moment and then they go back off. Also, they're double action. So if you turn on a circuit and then turn it back off, the output lights up twice, which is fine for things that hold memory like these copper lights. But it's difficult when you need to power things that are far away or above you. Case in point, the light is on, but when I turn it off, the light goes off. So what I wound up having to do is build a contraption. So you can push a power supply from a distance using the observers, and then the piston, non-sticky piston, reverts back to normal state after the observer goes off, even though the bottom circuit's still on. Now the downside of this kind of setup is you also have to turn this entire system off if you ever want it to turn off, which requires you to build a whole separate setup. But it can work. Just requires a little more space. There's also a bit of an issue with latency. The observers take a little longer to pass the signal up versus a typical redstone circuit is pretty well instantaneous. Now, I also was able to design some locks just because I felt like twiddling with stuff. I like to build things, okay? This is a combination lock. You use this to control access to a certain area. I like to use sticky pistons as doors. Pretty much anything else you want to use, but I like using iron because it's nice and visible. So you can turn them all on. Does nothing. So unless you know combination of what numbers turn it on or open the door in this case, it's not going to work. So we go 1, 3, and 5. Hey, it works. And if I trip any of the wrong ones, it closes it back up. So it's a good way to try to prevent people from guessing or just figuring it out. Have to hide your setup best you can. Unfortunately, redstone takes up a lot of space. Let's look at the inner working. You have one piston up over here, another piston up over here, and they all combine in a common leg here. I basically made an AND circuit here. So any one of 3 signals, I'm sorry, all 3 signals, I'm dumb. All 3 signals have to be off to disable the comparators pushing out the signal to the sticky pistons, pushing them forward, closing the door, right? So lane 5, lane 3, and lane 1. These are the ones I chose to use to open the door. This one I had to use a separate redstone power source to provide straight to both pistons, which is disabled itself by lane 1. Lane 2 actually disables lane 1. If I really wanted to, I could add another comparator, and you don't really need one of these necessarily if it's close enough to the power source. I like using one anyway because it's clean power, and this gives you an empty space where you don't have to worry about interfering with your circuit, because excuse me, the repeaters only take power in the back and send out the front. So if I needed to, I could also use that to disable lane 3. Lane 3 and 5 are disabled by lane 4 by the same setup, using a comparator that is inverted to turn off the signal even though the signal is high back there. Have our other power source for this side. This is going a little convoluted here, but it's going around this setup here to give us a spot for the comparator on 5, where it combines with lane 3, which also has power source here, where all 3 connect. So by turning on only 1, 3, and 5, sorry, 1, 3, 5, I can't count apparently, then and only then will you disable the output to the pistons and open the door or turn the piston off, as it were, giving you access to whatever's inside. Now, similar setup, but not really, is what I would call a sequential lock. So you have 1, 2, and 3, but they have to be opened in a specific order. In this case, I went with 3, 1, 2. And if I do anything out of order, doesn't work. So only when you do the correct order. Oh, 3. Numbers, man. 1 and then 2. Ta-da! Downside of this setup is you have to make sure you do it in the reverse order as well, because this is a electromechanical lock, and the only way to make the sequence actually work and not just bypassing it by turning all 3 on is you have to have a single object all 3 interact with, which in this case is a block of redstone and 3 sticky pistons. Again, the setup's a little bulky, but yeah. Okay, maybe it's a mess. Quiet. So we'll start from the power source, going across the back, and going up to, excuse me, our sticky piston, which is shutting the door here. Okay, that's what keeps the door shut. What opens the door is actually this redstone block getting to here. And this is actually inspired by my do nothing machine I earlier showed you, where we move one block several times using just a setup of a train of pistons. The first one is moved by this circuit here, which is lane 3. I wanted to use 3 first. And that's always going to be the first one to set up that's the easiest. Getting the others to go around your setup is what's the challenge. And the reason why there's this mess here. Then 1 was the secondary, so 1 turns on, goes up over 2 and 3 to get to the piston on the far side. So 3 pushes the block forward in front of this piston. 1, switch number 1, pushes this piston forward. And the only reason why this one's forward is because the block's back here. So if I were to halfway trigger the sequence, 3, 1, 2/3, half, math, stay in school, kids. So you can see the final piston is now off because the block is not next to it. One, the first piston from lane 3 and the second piston from lane 1 are both forward. Now the block is primed and ready to turn off the circuit. All that's left is to trigger the last switch, which is lane 2. By pushing that forward, we can open the door again. And because it's set up this way, as I said before, if I do it any other way, not only is it not going to work, but you could quite possibly jam up the machine, maybe break something, but my setup's kind of simple. But simply put, it's just not going to work. So what if we did it just in order? Nothing. Do it. Yep. So because we did it out of order, the block didn't make it in front of this one, so now it's trapped even though that circuit is on. And the piston just didn't go. So without them being in order, this is basically what you're going to see. The block is not going to make it over here. Those are my builds for today. I'm working on some other things here, there, and everywhere. Don't look too hard at any of it. Some of it's a pipe dream, some of it's not. Don't judge me. It's not easy building stuff where you have severe engineering limitations. Anyway, never mind my excuses. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see me build anything, or if you want to see me play a game, if you have any suggestions for content you would like to see personally, please let me know in the comments. And again, please remember to like and subscribe so that I can continue to do more of this. Thank you, and good night.